I've always loved writing pixels directly to the screen. Add a blur effect and suddenly you've got particle explosions and fire. Or draw a fractal and you can zoom in forever, well subject to resource constraints. You can create data structures which you can draw as individual pixels to simulate fluid flow or swarm behavior or anything else you can dream up. Working at the pixel level teaches you a huge amount about memory, geometry, and even physics. And honestly, I just love that moment when you open a totally blank black window and you're ready to start drawing on it by setting pixels. Some languages make this kind of thing almost effortless, and others make it a little bit harder. So in this video we're going to see how 4 languages handle direct pixel manipulation: Python, C and Java, plus a secret bonus language that's a little more obscure, which I'll reveal at the end. What are the pros and cons of each of these languages for directly manipulating pixels? And how do they compare when you write the same program, a particle fire explosion simulation, in all 4? The program you're looking at now is the original version that I wrote in C long before AI that can write code was a thing. But since we now do have AI that can write code, I just got AI to translate this into the other languages. I have previously tried to write this program in Java, and it was so slow that I gave up. But that was years ago. Languages were less efficient then in general, and the computer I was using was a lot slower than my present M4 MacBook Air. In fact, I'll tell you up front, I was pleasantly surprised to find that all 4 languages handled the task surprisingly well, which isn't what I expected. I thought Python in particular wouldn't manage it, and I was skeptical about Java. The question is, how do they all manage it? First, let's take a closer look at the C code. As I mentioned, this predates modern AI, and I'm sure there are places where I could have written something more efficiently or in a way that's better structured. And these days I would definitely run it past a chatbot. I mean a large language model, to see what it suggests. But in my defense, the code's written for my C course, and I prioritized ease of understanding over efficiency. I just wanted it to be efficient enough that it could run well even on a slow computer. With C, that's not so much of a problem, because C lets you manage your computer's resources very tightly with maximum efficiency. The core question when you're writing individual pixels on the screen is, how are you going to do that? After all, C doesn't have any kind of command like draw pixel or whatever. That wouldn't make any sense because C is intended as a general purpose programming language, used even to program computers that don't have screens. Most of those tiny computers that you find in fridges, air conditioners, cars and embedded systems of all kinds are programmed in C. So we need some kind of C library to interact with the graphics card. When I first learned C and C++, I used DirectX on Windows to do this, but I didn't like the fact that DirectX is so tied to one platform, so then I switched to the cross-platform SDL. When I was doing some research for my C course a few years ago, I looked into whether there might now be some even better option, but I still came up with SDL as the best option. So here's a little program that just draws a square on the screen using SDL by setting pixels individually. The biggest pain in the neck with C was always having to install and configure the libraries that you need. There's never been any really strong consistency over how this should be done, although there are some common conventions, and often they fail to compile, and then figuring out why isn't easy. But since 2018, CMake has actually been able to download and configure libraries. If you're doing much programming in C or C++, I strongly recommend downloading and installing CMake. It really does make everything a lot easier, and you can easily get AI to write a cmakelists.txt config file for your build. This cmakelists.txt downloads and configures SDL and builds my program. I just create a directory called build, change into that, run cmake ... then run cmake -build ... and then I've got a program I can run. In the code itself, we have something that's present in all programs involving animation, an event loop, which checks for events like the user attempting to close the window. This also calls the functions that draw and update the particle swarm. In particle.h, I have a definition of a struct that sums up all the attributes of a single particle. In swarm.c, I have functions that create and manipulate an array of these. Also, there's a function that converts a color specified in hue, saturation and lightness to a color I can draw on the screen using red, green and blue values. This isn't really necessary, but it helps with cycling through different colors. Instead of this, you could just cycle the red, green and blue values at different rates. And finally, very importantly, we have a function that applies a simple blur, which makes almost anything you draw look amazing. This was actually pretty slow, even on a modern MacBook, so I looked into how to optimize it, and I discovered it can be split into two separate functions, which work horizontally and vertically respectively, and which can then be written much more efficiently than the combined function by making use of running totals. To accomplish the blur, I'm using a kind of double buffering. The horizontal blur reads from the buffer that's currently being used to draw the screen and writes to an off-screen back buffer. Then the vertical blur reads from the back buffer and writes to the front buffer. Then we just show the new front buffer on the screen. In C, all of this is pretty straightforward once you have SDL working. I just had to look up algorithms for the blur and the optional conversion from hue, saturation, lightness to RGB. Now let's take a look at how we can do the same thing in Java. Most of the program's going to be nearly identical, but we need some way of handling the pixel drawing. The game loop here has become a simple infinite while loop running in its own thread with a little delay in it. The program uses swing and draws onto a J panel. A funny thing about Java is that the graphical user interface library, or GUI library, that's really how people pronounce it, Swing, was released in 1998. Then JavaFX was released with considerable fanfare in 2008, 10 years later. Part of the motivation behind JavaFX was that it was supposed to compete with Flash. But then Flash died a death after HTML5, with more advanced rendering capabilities came along. And in 2018, Oracle removed JavaFX from the default download of the Java SDK. Today, Swing remains much more popular than JavaFX. So it's not really surprising that AI itself chose to use Swing to accomplish this task, rather than JavaFX as you might think. The program simply draws into an off-screen image in swarm.java, which is then drawn onto the panel whenever the panel draws itself. Regular redraws are triggered by calling the repaint method in the loop in main. So here the graphics library is nothing other than Swing itself, which is built into Java. To say I'm surprised that this works so well would be an understatement. It didn't seem to work well when I first tried it years ago, but now I wonder if my blur algorithm just wasn't optimized well enough at the time. When I first tried to write this in Java, I was using the combined blur, not the version that's split into two separate passes. I've put all of this code on GitHub so you can take a look at it if you want. If you do get a chance to run the Java code, I'd be curious how well it performs on your computer especially if you have something slightly old and slow. To compile and run the Java code is really easy. You have to download and install the JDK, Java Development Kit, from Oracle if you haven't already got it. Then you can use command line tools like Java C, the Java compiler, and Java itself, the Java virtual machine. So we can build and run a program like this. It looks pretty much the same as the C version on my machine. I'm sure a large part of how this is even possible is the JIT, just-in-time compiler. Java bytecode runs on the Java virtual machine, a kind of simulated computer. But the Java virtual machine also watches what your program does, and then the JIT compiles the most CPU-intensive bits of it to actual machine code for your particular system. So in the end, Java can almost rival C for speed. Okay, but how about Python? Python is extremely slow, except when you're doing something using the highly optimized libraries, largely written in C and C++, that are widely used in Python for numerical computing. To accomplish the pixel drawing, the program's using pygame, which is a really easy to use Python games library. You can easily install it with the usual Python package manager pip. I once used pygame to make a game where you had to steer a rocket through a tunnel, and the twists and turns in the tunnel were controlled by historical share prices. It was pretty easy to write. Now, in its original form, my pixel explosion program ran at a glacial pace, but I got AI to rewrite the blur using numpy, which is a highly optimized numerical computing library for dealing with large arrays of numbers. You can see that it now runs pretty well. I think it could be further optimized by rewriting the logic as a series of operations on tensors, grids of numbers basically, and using numpy or another highly optimized library like PyTorch to do all necessary calculations. Then it's no longer going to be quite as easy to understand, but the most intensive work the program has to do could all be done by highly optimized C and C++ under the hood. And these libraries also make use of technologies like CUDA, which can run tensor operations on your graphics card, and BLAS, which uses vectorization to combine multiple operations into single assembly language instructions. Of course, the original C program could also be made way more efficient. On my Mac, I could rewrite it to make use of BLAS at least. Okay, so after seeing all of these languages perform pretty well with this task, at least on my machine, I wanted to try something slower. Maybe something a little old and obscure. The first language I ever learned was a language that was distributed with Windows 95, called QBasic. Previously, a few people have given me some flack for saying that QBasic is a toy language, but the version I had didn't have a compiler and therefore couldn't so easily be used to write useful applications. It was intended for learning about programming, which is what I did with it. That's what I meant by toy, that it was intended for experimentation and learning. I'm certainly not dismissing the value of QBasic or trying to say it's only good for children. However, as someone informed me in the YouTube comments, there is a version that has a compiler and it's still around. You can write useful programs with it, so indeed it's not a toy language. It's a serious and useful language. I asked Grok to write a QBasic version of my program, and here it is. Let's compile it. I'm using QBasic Phoenix Edition, which is free and cross-platform. Would you believe it? It works. There's some strange flashing which I couldn't get to the bottom of. It looks like it's maybe some kind of overflow problem, but that settles down as the program runs. I'm sure it's a bug in the code rather than being a problem with QBasic itself. It is slow, but it still looks pretty good. Extremely good, in fact. I think the slower run kind of suits the program. Having said that, I accidentally left it running for a while and it almost drained my laptop battery. This isn't the kind of task QBasic is really suited for. Like Java, QBasic lets you draw to an off-screen canvas and then blitz that to the screen, so drawing is pretty simple. The other elements of the program resemble the same elements found in all my other programs. If you run any of these programs yourself, I would be curious how they perform. The computer I'm using now is one of the most expensive machines I've ever owned, in spite of having been a developer for 14 years and having made a living from programming courses since then. I think it cost me about €1,300. It's not the world's fastest computer, but it is way faster than anything I've previously owned, and I wonder if these programs could still perform well on something old and slow. If you'd like to be able to write programs like this in C, I have a course on C that takes you from variable declarations and functions through pointers and memory management and ends with writing exactly this program from scratch, because this happens to be a great program for learning about memory and pointers. The link's in the description and you can get 10% off at the checkout with the code PIXEL. Until next time, happy coding.